This hour of HQ brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, and the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Bucs remaining atop Pete Prisco's post-draft power rankings. Hard to supplant the reigning champs when they're set to bring back all 22 starters, including the best quarterback of all time. Though the Chiefs are the Vegas favorite to win it all. Kansas City coming in at number 2. There you have the Bills up 1. So they moved the Packers down to 4. Browns up to 5. 49ers way up. Biggest riser, biggest mover, up 18 spots to number 6 overall. The Patriots back into the top 10 as well, up 8. We're going to go through a bunch of these teams with Pete Prisco right now. We're starting at the very top, Pete, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Did they do anything in this draft that is going to have a direct result on the field this season, and does that even matter?
It doesn't matter, but Joe Tryon, their first-round pick, will actually be in the rotation as a pass rusher, but I think he's more to secure the future when Jason Pierre-Paul is gone. So I like what they did in terms of that pick. I didn't like the Kyle Trask pick at all. But this isn't about this draft for this team. This is about who they're bringing back. They will run it back with the same 22. That never happens in the NFL. And kudos to Jason Light, the general manager, because every single starter is back. And that's a big thing. And Tom Brady, of course, is back. And that's the biggest thing of all.
Many of us thought that the Kansas City Chiefs were going to run it back last season. That didn't happen because they ran into this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. Chiefs sit at 2. Are they a better overall team, though, with the offensive line changes than they were a season ago?
Yeah, and I usually keep the Super Bowl champ at number 1, but it could easily be flipped around because they do have improvement on the offensive line. I think when you do what you've done to upgrade that unit, getting Orlando Brown to play left tackle, you bring in a bunch of other guys, you draft a guy, and you look at their line across the board, they're going to have 5 new starters from the team that took the field at the Super Bowl. And we saw what happened in the Super Bowl. They were terrible. If they had their tackles in that game, if Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher were healthy, I think they win the football game. So, yeah, I think this team is going to push again to win it all. As long as Patrick Mahomes is slinging it around, they're going to be in the conversation.
How much does the Aaron Rodgers ordeal have to do with the Packers being jumped by the Bills in your power rankings?
Well, it has something to do with it, but it also has a lot to do with the Buffalo Bills being an improved team. And the reason I say that, you see young guys are going to take the next step. They have a lot of players in their 3rd, 4th year who I think are going to really bust out and become really good players. And that's a sign of growth for an NFL team. I think the offensive line will be better this time around. I think Josh Allen will continue to improve. And they add a couple pass rushers. They're edge guys. If you remember the Chiefs game, they didn't get to the quarterback. And you know, Mario Addison and gang, they're getting up in the years. Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison are 34 and 33 years old. So they addressed that in the draft, and I think that was important. I love the Buffalo Bills as a football team. I think Brandon Beane's done a really good job, and I think Sean McDermott's a hell of a coach.
Packers sitting there at 4. I know you've said many, many, many times you can't trade Aaron Rodgers. If you were running things, you wouldn't trade him, and maybe they don't want to trade him. But what do you think ends up happening here this offseason with Rodgers?
Oh, I don't think they trade him. I think they're dug in. I think ultimately they will work out a revised contract. And this is what it's about. Look, you can talk all you want about he wasn't happy when they cut Jake Kumaro, but give me a break. A quarterback has friends on the team, but he shouldn't have the input on who's being cut and who's staying. So he knows better than that. He's been around the league long enough. Yeah, they cut one of his buddies, and maybe he thought he could help him, but that's a decision to be made above him. His job is to play. Ultimately, they will give him a new deal. It'll put him right up there with Dak Prescott and Patrick Mahomes. And in the end, he'll be a happy man and go back to Green Bay.
Going for his 4th MVP this upcoming season. Right behind the Packers at number 5, the Cleveland Browns. Brady Quinn might be rubbing off on you a little bit. I know he said going into the draft that they had no needs. You've got the Browns up from 10 to 5.
Yeah, they have a need. It's pass rusher, and they still do. But I think what they've done as a whole for this team, remember, they pushed the Chiefs in the playoffs last year. Now, Mahomes was hurt in that game, but they pushed them. And they made some plays in that game. And I think you saw some good things from that Cleveland Browns team. The offensive line should be dominant again. Kevin Stefanski's a heck of a coach. Baker Mayfield will continue to play well as long as they run the ball, and they will. And then get guys back. I mean, Odell Beckham's coming back. They might get Greedy Williams back at corner. Grant Delpit missed all of last year after tearing an Achilles tendon. And they drafted well. So I think when you piece it all together, the Browns are a team that can push for the Super Bowl, and I think they're the favorite in the division.
Okay. I don't have many arguments in the top 5, and I don't think many would. But the big riser is the team that sits at number 6 now, and that's the 49ers, up 18 spots. How do you put them that high? They're not even the favorite in their own division.
They were decimated by injuries last year. I mean, just crippled, and they were competitive in games, and that's a tribute to Kyle Shanahan as a coach and the organization. You know, Jimmy Garoppolo will be back, I think, as the quarterback. They'll probably let him play and let Trey Lance learn for a year. Even if they don't, they will be better because the guys back on the field. I mean, look at the guys that went out last year. You know, Kittle missed time, Garoppolo missed time, Bosa missed a lot of time. And you look at it across the board, it really impacted who they were as a team. They will be right back in the mitt to be able to go to a Super Bowl. That's how impressed I am with their roster, but it's also a tribute to Kyle Shanahan as a coach.
And the Cardinals coming in just 2 spots behind at 8. They're ahead of both the Rams and Seahawks on your list. I feel like any one of these 4 teams could win this division.
Yeah, it's a brutal division, Chris. I mean, when you look at it top to bottom, it's going to be a war every single week in those divisional games because all these teams are good. You know, the Cardinals have had a great offseason. They've added some really good pieces. J.J. Watt comes in. I think A.J. Green will help them as a veteran. You look what they did in the draft. Zaven Collins will be their starting middle linebacker playing next to Isaiah Simmons. Gives them 2 young players who can run, and I think Collins will really be an improvement over what they had there in Hicks last year. So top to bottom, the Cardinals have had a great offseason, and I think they're going to be one of those teams that takes the next step. And by the way, it has the feel of a group that's going for it. They really sold out, and I think they're going for it this year, which they should do.
Plus 575 to win that tough division. Moving to the AFC East, which no longer belongs to the New England Patriots, but they're coming fast. New England up 8 spots to number 10. Is it going to be Cam or is it going to be Mac at quarterback?
I think it'll be Cam to start the season, and we'll see how it plays out. But this is more about what they've done in terms of restocking the roster. They've had a very good free agency class. They spent a lot of money, which traditionally they don't do, but they had to do. But that offensive line is going to be nasty, big, physical, strong. They're going to lean on people and run the football early in the season when Cam Newton is the quarterback. And if he stays in there, I think they'll do that all season long. But the defense will be much better. And I like what they did in the draft. Christian Barmore will be a force as a down player. He shouldn't have fallen to the second round. I think it was some character concerns in terms of coachability is what some of the scouts told me. But he will be a steal, and that won't be a problem in New England. And then you look at some of the other guys coming back. Hightower's coming back. So I think this group will be much better on defense. They're going to be tough, and we know Belichick can coach.
All right, let's go to the worst division in football, the NFC East. You've got the Washington football team at 13. But the Cowboys up 9 spots here. How close are they from passing Washington?
Well, I think they're neck and neck. I think those 2 teams are going to fight it out, and maybe the Giants push them a little bit in the division if Daniel Jones takes the next step. But, you know, look, the Cowboys are going to be very good on offense. We know that. As long as the offensive line stays healthy, Dak Prescott will be back. They're going to score points. They'll run the ball with Elliott. It's all about the young players on defense, and they use the entire draft to kind of bulk up the defense. They have to be better on that side of the ball. As far as Washington, it's the exact opposite. We know they're going to be good on defense. They can really get after the quarterback. And I think getting Jamin Davis, the linebacker, will upgrade their defense on that second level. They're going to be good on defense. The question is, how good are they on offense with Ryan Fitzpatrick? They tried and talked about going up to get a quarterback. It didn't work out. Ryan Fitzpatrick is capable of getting them to 9, 10, 11 wins.
Speaking of Fitzpatrick, the team he left, the Dolphins, holding steady at 15. The Vikings up 4-16. And Pete, the Broncos, after just 5 wins last season, up 4 spots to number 17. But what's the quarterback situation going to look like between Locke and Bridgewater?
Well, I think Drew Lock will get the start. I'm a believer in Drew Lock. I think last year at the end of the season he had, I think, 7 touchdown passes and 2 picks in the final 4 games and showed some flashes of being their quarterback. He's got to be more dedicated to the craft. I think he will be. I think he's a guy that has the big arm. He has a tendency to try and use that arm at times, plays with the swagger. He's a gunslinger. Might have to, just throttle it back just a bit. But I think he'll be their quarterback, and that's a talented roster. Defensively, you get Von Miller back, and that's a big thing for him is where will he be? Will it be like the old Von Miller? Will it be anything that he can't do like he used to be able to do? Those are big questions, but I like their roster. They improved at cornerback, which is a must in that division with Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes getting Patrick Surtain, but they also had Ronald Darby and Fuller, so they're going to be better in the secondary, and that really matters when you play in the AFC West when you have Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert slinging it around.
You saw them on that list of potential Super Bowl winners. You're not going to get good value on that because I think some people are putting some money down on the Broncos in hopes that they go out and trade for Aaron Rodgers, which Pete says is not going to happen. All right, into the 20s now, and it's the biggest faller in your post-draft power rankings, the Steelers from 7 to 20. Is this the end of an era in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I think it might be. And the reason I say that's not just because of Ben Roethlisberger, but look at the offensive line. I just think it wasn't a very good group to begin with last year, and now they have major questions. I do like the center they drafted out of Illinois, Green. I think he's going to be very good. But the tackle is a major issue, and no matter who it is, Zach Banner's coming off a torn ACL. He's probably going to start at one of them, and so they had issues on the offensive line. They drafted a running back, Najee Harris, to kind of fix their run game, but I don't care who your running back is. If your offensive line isn't getting pushed up front in the run game, you're not going to run the football. So they're a concern for me. They also, have to figure out who's going to rush the passer opposite T.J. Watt. There's a lot of questions with the Steelers, and I do think it's the end of an era. This will probably be Ben Roethlisberger's last year, and I don't think they're going to go to the postseason.
A couple of AFC playoff teams from a season ago in the 20s is not just Pittsburgh. The Tennessee Titans as well, down 10 to 21, and in your article, Pete, you wrote, every year we pick them in this area, then they somehow find a way to make the playoffs. Yet you haven't learned your lesson, I guess.
No, I haven't, and part of that is, I just think you can't rush the passer well enough. It's a problem. And they had 19 sacks last year. Now, they've addressed it a little bit. I think Bud Dupree comes in and will help them in the pass rush, get them a little more juice. But I don't know if they're good enough on defense. And remember, we saw a lot of games last year where they got in track meets with teams and couldn't hang on. And they had an explosive offense. So, yeah, I'm concerned about them defensively. But it's hard for me to go against them every year because I know Mike Vrabel instills a toughness and an attitude, and they can pound the ball with Derrick Henry and make plays off of that run game. It does concern me a little bit, but I think when I look at the league the way it is right now, I put them in the right spot.
All right, to near the bottom now of Pete Prisco's power rankings. See the Jaguars soaring up 6 spots to number 26, ahead of the Eagles, who are down 1. And Pete, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me and probably many is Jalen Hurts. Is he going to be an NFL quarterback? But you say there are many more burning questions for this team outside the quarterback position.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, cornerback position is a major concern. Can they rush the passer the way they used to? Is the offensive line's a little bit in flux? I know they're getting some guys back. Brandon Brooks is back healthy again, supposedly, so we'll see. But it's all in the quarterback. I mean, if you look at these two teams, Jacksonville's going to have Trevor Lawrence. The Eagles are going to have Jalen Hurts. Which one would you rather have? I think that's an easy question to answer. And I think Jalen Hurts has some talent. Don't get me wrong. But this might be one of those years where he learns to play the position. And I think it's going to take him a little time, a little longer than Trevor Lawrence, which is why I have the Jaguars ahead of him.
Okay, the Bengals come in at number 29. I thought they might be a little higher this season because we know how high you are on Joe Burrow and his potential to win a Super Bowl or 2 over the next 9 seasons or so. You say they're a year away. Obviously, Burrow, you want him to have a full season under center, but who else on this roster gives you a reason to think that a year from now they're going to be a contender?
Well, I think the offensive line. I think, they drafted Jackson Carman. He's going to play guard. He needs to play well for them right away. I think this is a group up front that has to be better. Jonah Williams has to be better at left tackle. The line has to be the key to them improving on that side of the ball. They have weapons. I mean, Joe Mixon can run the ball. They have receivers. They had Jamar Chase. They have 3 good receivers. So they will score points if the offensive line is good. Defensively, I think they've, have some young players that need to step up. I think the pass rush has to be improved. But across the board, this is a team on the move. And people don't want to hear that. But as long as Joe Burrow can stay healthy, they're going to be competitive in games. And a year from now, they're going to be a good football team.
New jerseys as well. Look forward to seeing Joe Burrow back out there this season. Pete Prisco's full power rankings on CBSSports.com. Thank you, Pete. We'll see you in a couple months. Or like a couple hours. Well, one or the other. The Chiefs are the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl, but Pete does have the Buccaneers #1, followed by the Chiefs in his power rankings. He has the Bills as his #3 team. Then things get a little wild. The Rams and 49ers and Ravens, all 14-1. Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.